Chasing Purpose is a journey of self-love, self-development, healing, and spirituality. Welcome back to Chasing Purpose, heard right here on the Bridge 99 FM in Jamaica and on Irie Jam Radio in the New York tri-state area. Again, here are our numbers to be involved in our conversation: 876-551-5782. That's 876-551-5782. Our studio line, 876-676-4996, 676-4996. Before I went to break, I told you I have an amazing guest here, Chasing Purpose through stories. We go through self-healing, love, appreciation of one another. We go through just how people step into purpose. What does it look like to step into purpose, to turn our passion and our pursuits of life into purpose, right? How do we do these things? How do we start from where we start from? As I said to you in the beginning, in our mindset minute, where we have begun in life is certainly not where we're going to end up. It's how we take these lessons and turn them into blessings. So as we jump into our soulful pursuit segment, I want to start off today with this verse from Romans chapter 8, verse 22. And we know that in all things, God works for the good of those who love him, who have been called according to his purpose. Today's guest is nothing short of a shining beacon of what God's purpose looks like in someone's life. She describes her purpose journey as moving from mess to miracle. Our guest has been counted out by loved ones, society, and even her own self many times. She has even been through depression, promiscuity, drug addiction, and even went to prison. But God. Minister Stacey-Ann Garvey. Welcome to Chasing Purpose.
Thank you so much for having me. It's actually a pleasure to be here.
I mean, get your Kleenex together, get your journals out, because we are going to have a thought-provoking conversation with Minister Garvey. Minister Garvey, I want you just to kind of take us through your childhood. Paint the story for us.
All right, so I grew up in an extended family. My mom had me at about 17 or 16 years old. Mm-hmm. So, after I was born, I was given to my grandmother. That's my father's mother, to look after. Because she was young, she was trying to make life. Mm-hmm. And of course, at that age, you really don't know the direction that you want to go. So I grew up mostly with my grandmother. So I was kind of the black sheep because I was very mouthy, and she used to take me to church a lot. My grandmother went to church 7 days a week, and I would have to always go with her because if I am ever left at home, problems. So I grew up in church. I didn't realize that we were really poor until I got to about 18 because you ate what you were given. Mm-hmm. You were exposed to certain things. Mm-hmm. So you found joy in what you had. Yeah. But at about 16 or 17, I started to read a lot of Mills and Boom books. Mm-hmm. And I saw something that I've never heard or felt before, and that was love. Mm. And that is how my story started to get messy.
Wow. So it's in these books that you've read about love?
Right, because I never heard anybody talk about it. And, growing up, we didn't have TV. Mm-hmm. All we had was, the long-time radios that would play RJ, and you hear news, you hear Alan and Doreen on the radio. Yeah. And you would hear about Sunday Contact and all of that. But you've never heard, about love. Certain information was not available to you. And even though I grew up in church, I sang on the kids' choir. Mm-hmm. We read scripture, we sang hymns. But there was that element that was missing.
Within the household.
Love. In the household, in, anyone I would socialize with, and even at church.
Mm-hmm. I hear that story a lot. What do you think it is with our Caribbean families where people just don't express themselves? They don't use that word love. What do you think that is?
I think it has to do with the fact that a lot of us in this generation, we have parents and, probably family members who just grew up traditional and culturally. So it means that once you're fed, once you go to school, once you go to church, that is all that you need. But then there's an element now that we have found out where you find that young people, teenagers, stepping into adulthood, they need mentorship. Yeah. You need coaching because the mind is very important.
Yeah, the mind is very important. And if it's not fed the right things, it can be used for the wrong things. So, and let's go through that. Let's go through that, because we talk about promiscuity, we talk about drug abuse and all these things. How do you think it was the lack of love or the lack of affection that would have sent you to try certain things?
To be honest, it was in prison that I really realized that I suffered from something called rejection. And not knowing what rejection is, but going through it is really hard. So rejection would have caused me to start looking for love in the wrong places. Rejection caused me because I looked different. I had brown eyes, I was mouthy, I had the red hair and the birthmark. So to me, I was different. And so what you'd find is even among my cousins and, the extended family, I was never the favorite because I thought because I looked different, I wasn't the favorite. So I suffered from not getting attention from my family. So it started from rejection, and then it blossomed into a whole bag of trouble.
Do you think, you spoke about your mom and grandma raising you. Was that in the picture?
Yes, but he wasn't. So my father grew up, he ran away from home early. And he grew up. When I came on this earth, I saw my father as a bus driver. And for all of his life, that is the life that he knew. So it would be bus driving, then going to the bar, and the girls. I won't paint a picture as if he's a terrible person. Right. And the truth is, he could not do more because he didn't know how to do more. He only knew what he saw. And what he saw was somebody that needed to drive a bus to make money, so he can go to the bar, so he can get a girl, or probably support his mother and father. So, and at age 20 or 21, my father was the first person who took me to a dance. Oh, wow. My father was the first person who took me to a bar. Yeah. And so you find that, my family was not cultured to be emotional and, loving and all of that. So they knew they did what they knew how to do.
At what age did you start getting into relationships?
I think my first relationship was about 16. It was, the school boyfriend and then the church boyfriend. And then the church boyfriend is the one that, convinced me that, everybody's having sex. And
the church boyfriend?
Yeah, the church boyfriend.
Okay.
We weren't under any kind of mentorship. Yeah. So everybody was having sex. And, to be a virgin at that time, it felt like a curse. And you wanted to be with the in crowd. So that was how I started having sex at about 17.
No. So take us through the relationship and that started you off having sex, and then jumping to, how do we get to jail from church? How do we leave from home under grandma's care to prison?
So my grandmother traveled a lot. In her later years, she got a visa, and at that time they call it multiple something or another. So my grandmother traveled a lot. But what happened is, after I started having my first situationship, because it wasn't really a relationship, I started having sex with this person. We started doing teenage stuff. And just after leaving high school as a valedictorian, 2 weeks after I found out that I was pregnant.
Wow.
Yeah, so that is when I had my first abortion.
Wow.
After having that abortion, the young man went into the army, because he was a bright person, intelligent. And so the idea of not having a local girl was now on the table. And I was now a local girl. Wow. So he basically, most men come and they stop calling and say it's over. The man send me an email and say we're done. So on top of, suffering from rejection, depression came in. And so what you find is that I went into a second relationship, this time with an older person, because in my mind, it seems as if young men don't know how to, have a relationship and give me the white picket fence and the poodle dog that I read in the book, So I went into another relationship, but this person was also damaged.
Wow.
And what he found was somebody that was way older than I am, trying to find himself in a lot of women. You know, I got into that situation. And so that relationship lasted about 6 years. And during that time, I would have had about 7 to 8 more abortions.
Oh, wow.
On top of the one abortion that I would have had. So what he found is a woman, a girl, that really didn't know how to, I didn't know what forgiveness was. I didn't know, I couldn't understand where or how I got there. I never understood my emotions, and I didn't even love myself, So when that relationship didn't work out, I left that relationship after being pregnant with my first son now and deciding that I'm not going to have another abortion.
Yes, thank God.
So, after having my son, the relationship just went through the door. And it broke me not because he left me. It broke me not because it didn't work out. It broke me because I felt like a failure. Not just to him or to the other person, not just to my son, but to myself. And that's when I realized that I had no peace inside of my mind. And that is how I went on to get the 15 tattoos. The alcoholism came in, the partying came in, the promiscuity came in, because I was just searching for something to satisfy my soul.
Looking outside of yourself. See a picture there, dance?
Very right.
No, but it's a part of your journey, and it is why you are where you are today. Talk about the drug addiction.
So it started off first with antidepressants, and then
were you prescribed?
Pills. I went to the doctor, tried to explain what was happening to me, and the doctor gave me her diagnosis, which was depression, which was really true. But then there was something way deeper than the physical happening to me. So I was prescribed antidepressants, sleeping pills, but my body got used to those.
At what age is this?
This was about early 20s.
Wow.
So I started doing a lot of partying, and that's how drugs got introduced to me. So I was snorting, I was injecting, I was smoking, I was popping pills, and everything that I could think of.
And this is you now self-healing, self just kind of loving yourself. This is what you thought was.
I think I was trying to get away from myself.
Right.
Because there are times in your life when you feel so unworthy, you feel so messy, you feel so low down and dirty that you cannot even look in the mirror.
So as you're doing all of these things now, what's the change? Where did the breakthrough come?
In prison.
Wow.
I got arrested in 2008. I was working for a company, and there was a what you call a racket going on, fraudulent activity. And to party, to take drugs, to maintain a lifestyle, buying even friends cost money. To me, I didn't know it was criminal activity because I grew up sheltered. I was the girl that grew up in church. I got TV late. So certain things were not crystal clear to me. I knew if I was caught, then I would lose my job. But the idea of being arrested and put into jail was really not on my mind. And so, I would have gotten arrested in 2008, and I was on bail for over a year. And I tried everything. Somebody took me to the Obia man, somebody took me to the spiritualist. They took me all over the place, and nothing worked. The only thing I wanted after that was an exit out of this world. And so I became a suicidal person that was so suicidal that suicide did not like me. I tried it so many times. And one of the things I learned from that experience is that when somebody is suicidal, they'll never tell you. And so my last suicide attempt, I was in my apartment, and I took 30 sleeping pills, drank about 3/4 of a bottle of Hennessy, without ice, without water. I just drank it.
You just wanted to end.
Listen, I was done. I wrap up a big blunt and I smoked it. And I was saying I must be so unconscious because the bed was near to the window. And I must be so unconscious that when I go through that window, when I am dying, I won't have to feel any pain or anything. And as I was about to go through the window, listen, I felt a hand grip me right in the middle of my back and just pull me back. And I fell asleep on that bed for about 2 to 3 days. Because when I woke up in my own mess. And this is a physical mess I'm talking about.
Wow. So you've taken all these drugs. Your mindset is I'm done. I'm over it all. I want to not be here anymore. Went to sleep probably with the thoughts that I'm not going to be here anymore. When you woke up in your own mess as you described, what's going through your head?
I was angry. And I knew, it was like my soul understood way more than my mind did. And so even though I couldn't physically just start crying, I heard my heart say to God, because I knew, the enemy wouldn't want to keep you alive when you're committing suicide, and you are the one putting your soul at that place. And so, and this is when I found out that tears really are a language that God understands. And, even the Bible talks about that he's touched by the feelings of our infirmities. And that was my experience of God, being touched by my infirmities, because it was my infirmities that spoke to God that day, not me.
Yeah.
And my infirmities said to God, why won't you leave me alone and allow me to die? And if you're not going to do that, why won't you help me? And I just felt a little teardrop come down. 2 weeks after that, I was called to an emergency court hearing. And as I stepped in the courtroom, all I heard was remand. And that's how I ended up in prison the same evening. They left me in the holding area, didn't remember me. So police came around there and found me about after 7, when the prison muster would have been checked off and sent off. And, normally they don't take prisoners after a certain time because they have to check a muster. They couldn't take me to the jail because it would have been found out that they didn't do their job.
They didn't do their job,
right?
yeah.
But what they didn't understand was that God was really connecting the dots, and he was really fulfilling destiny, because they took me in at a time when it's not supposed to happen. So right there and then, even though I was going into prison, I was also stepping into favor.
Can we just drop, where's my gem my gem button? There's so much things that you said. Your soul understood what your mind didn't. I think that's so powerful. There's so many people out here right now that their mind just has the control, but not understand their soul is what's guiding them, and God is right there with them. You stepped into prison and stepped into favor. Tell us more about that.
So when I went into prison, there's a dorm, I think it was a dorm 10, that they normally put, special inmates, meaning persons that are sick, pregnant, elderly folks,
Were you
and
pregnant
babies.
at the time?
Let me give you that story.
Yes,
now.
please do.
So I found out I was pregnant about November.
Okay.
This was like 2009, November, December. And when I found out I was pregnant, I was pregnant for somebody that was married, that we weren't even in a relationship, we were just there. And I aborted the baby, and I went through the process. I saw the whole thing. I went through the days of whatever. So I knew I had aborted the baby. Go to prison, and I got up in the morning, and they took me out early to ensure that I was done registered, and they did the checks and all of that. But whilst walking up to the office from where the dorm is, there's a gate that separates the dorms from the actual road to go up to the office. It's a little walk. I tripped on a stone, and when I fell, I hit the side of my head. And I suffered a concussion for about 2 hours. But the wound was so big that they had to take me to the hospital to get it stitched. So I was out for about 2 hours or a little bit more. So I remember I was coming out of the unconsciousness and all of that. And I heard a doctor talking to one of the officers. And I heard when the doctor say, she's fine, she just suffered a mild concussion and whatever. But we had to do what we needed to do to save that baby.
The same baby that you swore that you aborted.
The same baby. And I tried to convince this doctor for over an hour that I'm not pregnant. And what they eventually did was took me to do an ultrasound.
So they can show you.
And I saw my baby.
Wow.
And it hit me.
Oh, Jesus.
It hit me in a way that I wanted to pursue answers, because to me that was a miracle. To me that was divine. And to me there was more.
Yeah.
You know?
There was more.
Yeah.
If you're listening to today's show, you should be listening to today's show. If you don't catch it live, and we want to say this, you can always go on to our YouTube, The Bridge 99 FM, and Chasing Purpose with Cynthia Shea Clark. And please be a part of the show. The Bridge 99 FM, you can watch us live, see how amazing past Minister Garvey looks. Outfit I got along with a bag of things, and of course my outfits always. So please download the app so you can always watch us. Be a part of the conversation. 551-5782, 551-5782. Any questions that you may have for Minister Garvey or myself, feel free. This is a conversation for all of us, right? It's so important to share these stories because somebody is going through something right now. Somebody is going through something right now, and this story is changing them. This story is blessing them. Our studio line 676-4996, 676-4996. All right, so you blew me away before the break because you were absolutely positive that you had an abortion.
Correct.
But realized that God had a whole different plan for you. So when you realize now that you are with child, what happens?
So I remember the first night of being, incarcerated. I had no drugs, I had nothing to smoke, I had nothing, to probably cause me to fall asleep for maybe an hour. And so for the entire night, I heard this lady that was in the dorm next door, praying and just crying out to God, why am I here and all of that. But how I heard her name was when the officers came down on the dorm, and called out her name and said, why won't you go to sleep? You're disturbing the other inmates. So when I came from the hospital, the following day, I started to write a suicidal note to my mom, because in my mind, I still thought that I was just existing and not living. And so when you get to that place, when you feel like you're just here because God didn't decide to take, your life or allow anybody to take your life, what it does is to put you in a position of discomfort. And this is why I understand when people are mentally sick, because you'll be at that place, you don't know whether to move left, right, or center. So, the following day, as I was writing my mother the suicidal note, I wrote a small note with the lady's name on it. I briefly explained the situation, told her about the baby situation, and I told her, I was a drug addict, alcoholic, criminal, all of that. She came to my dorm door when it was lunchtime, and she called me to the grill. And she said, can we have a conversation in the lunchroom? And I said, sure. And whilst we were in the lunchroom, she looked at me and she said something that blew me away. She didn't say, I told her my name was Stacey-Ann, but she looked at me and she said, woman of God, what would have been your answer to God if you had killed yourself and that prophet that you're carrying in your belly? She looked at me again and she said, woman of purpose, what would have been your answer to God if you were successful in killing yourself and ultimately killing the promise that is inside of your belly?
Wow.
She then encouraged me that, there's churches that come in the prison on Saturdays, and you're going to make me cry.
No, well, I mean, you're doing a successful job at this. Thank you, ma'am.
Oh, Lord. I have to keep these eyelashes, Yeah, so she said that church is coming on Saturdays and Sundays. So I went to church on Saturday, but the word that was given was hope. And funny enough, I catch on to it, and I had enough hope just to go back on the Sunday. When I went to church this Sunday, there was this church that came in called House of God. And they brought, a few ministers, and one of them was Minister Fabian Steele. He's now a bishop in the U.S. But that day, they went through the worship session, and then it was his time to bring the word. And he said something, I think it was Jeremiah 29, verse 11, that he read from, You know, that scripture that says, for I know the thoughts that I think towards you, you know, thoughts to prosper you, thoughts of peace, and to give you an expected end. But then he gave a rhema word. And for some reason, his eyes connected with mine. And as they connected, I heard the man of God say, do not let the enemy write your story. And then he said something that was so powerful. He said, what has happened to you and even what is happening to you now, it's just chapters. He said, you have the power now to just turn the page and begin to rewrite your story. Because when you give your life to God,
you're right.
when you give your life to God and you surrender totally, what happens is that, you know, and a lot of people, even if you're not a Christian, you know the power of words, you know. So having the ability to begin to now speak over yourself and, you know, change your life by receiving and just understanding the love of Jesus Christ. And so that day when he said that, don't let the devil in your story, and you have the power to now turn the page, and the pen is now in your hand, even though you're in prison. So start to write. Let me tell you something. I was about 27 or 28, and in all those years of existing, I never felt love till that day. I felt love so tangible, like raindrops. And it started dropping on my head. But something so wonderful happened. The drops went through my pores in my head, and it just started to move around in my head. And when it started to move around in my head, it was like it was just connecting things. My brain started to function. My mind started to feel like it was doing this. So I understood that it was a renewal that started taking place. My ear gates popped open because I was now hearing Jesus loves you. And I started to receive it. I felt love going on up in one of my nostrils, and like the damage, the discouragement, the depression, and the rejection just running out. I felt love just going down into my chest. You know, I felt it moving around. And you know what happened that day? I felt my son move from left to right. First time since being pregnant.
Wow.
And I felt love just trickle down my legs.
Oh my goodness.
And right in prison, I lifted up my hands and I said, God, I don't know what this is. I don't fully understand it, but I love it. And right there and then in prison, I said, all my life I've been trying to fix myself, and I've been searching for things that I could not find. And I lifted up my hands and I said, I surrender. And I said, Lord, do not take me out of prison. I said, keep me in this place until you have changed me, until you have molded me, until you have made me into the woman that you called me to be. I ended up having my baby in prison, you know, had to do a C-section. And when I had my baby, and this was the first time I accepted my mother's love, and this was the first time I could receive my mother's love. And this is how I knew that even though she didn't really say it physically, that she loved me.
Yeah, she knew,
When I was in the hospital, her name is Maureen. When I was in the hospital, and you know, when you just have a baby, there's a feeling that comes, and your family wasn't around, the father wasn't around, the father didn't even know that he had a son at that time. But when I woke up, you know, and I saw the officers that, you know, worked with the institution, they were so loving that they didn't make it look like I was an inmate. I wasn't handcuffed to the bed or anything. And they weren't nearby, but they were at a place where they could see me. And I woke up, and for a minute I felt so lonely. I felt sad and I felt broken. And then
this is God. This is God.
I saw my mom with, you know, she have knock-knee. And I saw this knock-knee person like just walking fast and looking all over the hospital.
Looking for her
just
baby.
to find her daughter, because I'm her only daughter. She has 2 kids, a son and a daughter. So I'm her only daughter, and I kind of look like her, you know. But I saw her like walking down the passage, looking at everywhere, just looking for me. And the bags were so heavy. Listen, my mother went to Coronation Market and she bought every fruit that she could find.
Oh, wow.
And she went to this juice outlet and got some big bottles of fruit juice. I ended up having to give persons in the hospital because I didn't have a fridge and it would spoil if I didn't use all of it. And when she came and she looked at me, she gave me a Bible. And when I opened the Bible, I saw Jeremiah 29 verse 11. And I heard the voice of God said, this is the promise over your son.
Wow.
And
this is the same Bible verse that
verse.
The now
and,
Bishop
she
read over you.
She said, this is the promise over your son.
Wow.
And, she was there and she took the baby. And my mother said something to me that was just so, she said, I know now that I don't know what's going to happen in terms of him having a father and even you being in prison. But she said, I am willing to be that mother and father until, you get your situation together.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something, my baby didn't lack anything.
Yes.
And when I was in prison, my mom used to come every week, when I had the baby. And I had to stop her, like, when he went home to say, no, focus on him, I'll survive. And she said something to me that, I celebrated my 40th birthday last August. And I did a photo shoot. And one of the photo shoot that I did, I was actually not smiling, but really laughing to the point of my head flipping back like that. And while I was doing the photo shoot, I remember my mother looked at me in the hospital that day. And she looked at me and she said, you are going to smile, my child.
Yes.
And you're not just going to smile, you're going to laugh again.
Yes.
And she said, though it seems rainy now, she said, you are bright, you are beautiful, you are my gift, and you are my son. And she didn't mean a man, she mean I am her light that will shine again. And so that day, I was empowered enough to say, I'm willing to go through the situation. Because I was now at a place where my greatest prison was not the four walls. It was my mind. But I was now free and able to now walk into purpose. And so I went to court and I just pleaded guilty to everything. I can't tell you the charges because I never gave the clerk of the court any time to read them. I said guilty. And I heard the Lord say, you're going to do time with me. I got 10 years in prison and I was out in less than 3. My first ministry was cleaning the prison church, cleaning the chaplain's office. I loved Bible study. I spent a year going through the Bible in prison. There was a season when the Lord had me studying the life of the Apostle Paul, something that resembled my life, the imprisonment, being shipwrecked, being bitten, and the venom that was supposed to kill him only made him stronger. And so when I came home, that is when I started to experience prison, because there are a lot of people that didn't believe that, once you've made an error and a mistake, even if God gives you a second chance, people will not believe that. And so I had to get to a place mentally, emotionally healed, mentally healed, and my soul had to reject and let go all of those issues. So when you talk about forgiveness was a 2-year journey for me.
I certainly hope you guys are getting as filled as I am with Minister Garvey's story. Welcome back to Chasing Purpose, heard right here on The Bridge. Again, I'm going to give you guys the lines. Get involved. 551-5782, 551-5782, and 676-4996. Before you went to break, you spoke about forgiveness, Minister Garvey. Forgiveness. Was that for forgiveness for yourself, for those who you thought should have loved you but didn't? What was the forgiveness really about or for?
So it was really both. Forgiveness for persons who, you thought would be there, but, they turned their back. Forgiveness concerning family who were disappointed that you had gotten to that place in your life. Forgiveness for the fact that people really and truly didn't know what was happening to me because I didn't show it. Forgiveness for people who, will sit and judge you not knowing that, there's a root. But the greatest challenge with forgiveness was myself. And if I'm honest today, I'll tell you that unforgiveness lingered in my heart for myself for years until June 2022. Let me tell you about that.
That was just the other day.
The other day,
Yeah.
my son that I had in prison, he's now 12 years old.
Bless him.
And while we were at his graduation, you know, his father was there, but they sat at the back, so because I'd gotten there before them. And when, you know, they were giving the kids awards and all of that, like my son was just getting award after award after award. Now, this is a child that was born in prison. When I sent him home, they said that he had meningitis. They said that they gave him 2 weeks to live. They said he wasn't going to hear properly, walk properly, talk properly. He walked when he was almost 3. He talked when he was a little bit over 2. And then they said that he wasn't going to be able to do all of that. My son is a gold medalist athlete.
Hello.
My son got the most awards at school. I remember when he was about 5, he had a little speech impairment. And so, you know, people would have thought that maybe he's autistic or something like that. And I said, no, not my child. And so now when I see how he has blossomed, I'm a mother of 2 boys.
Yeah.
And my first son, he's going to be 16 in another couple of months. He broke a cycle of abortion when I carried him into this world. And so what it meant is that there would never be a set of abortions. But my kids are my greatest, you know, encouragement for life and for doing better and being better. And so when
they epitomize exactly what we're talking about, where your beginning is certainly not your end.
Definitely. And so I remember, you know, one of the last awards he was getting, the teacher, you know, she went over the mic and she was talking about the child, but she never mentioned his name. She said this is one of the best students that she has ever taught, and she's been teaching for over, I think, 20-something or 30-something years. She said he's well-behaved, he's well-mannered, he's disciplined, and if he wanted to give trouble in class, he would not know what to do. And then she said, if you want to know where he is in the class, look where the girls gather, because the girls always gather around him. And then she called his name so loud, and the audience got up and they stood up and they were clapping. And one of the things that she said, I want to personally congratulate the mother, because it is obvious that she has done a good job. I was about to go to the front with my cell phone to take a picture, and I heard the Lord say, stay where you are, because right in this moment, I am giving you the okay to graduate, just as how he's graduating to go to his next level called high school. I want you to graduate from the unforgiveness that you tried to abort this child. You had no choice, because this was purpose. And even if you tried it, my word overrules everything that you'd have tried to do concerning this child. And I heard the voice of the Lord so clearly. It's time to forgive yourself. Because growing, you know, when I came home from prison, you know, there are times when he would get sick and asthma attacks and all of that. And every time that happened, I always say, I'm wondering if it is because I did that, that's why this door is open. But that day the Lord said, it's time to forgive yourself. And it's time to let go of the guilt. And yeah, that's when I forgave myself.
You spoke a lot about mentorship earlier on. Why do you think mentorship is so important?
Because we don't have all the information. We don't know everything. And I've always said that experience is the greatest teacher. One of the things that, you know, I was commissioned to do, not just as a minister, but just as a person on a whole, with a testimony, was to be authentic, be real, be truthful. And so when I came out, I think it was about 2019 or 2020, when I started telling my story, it made a lot of persons uncomfortable, because you find that as a people, and I'm going to extend to say even as a church, we paint a picture as if we don't go through these things while we're still struggling, but over spiritualizing everything, not dealing with ourselves. Some of us are uncomfortable, and this is why you find that women can't compliment another woman because we suffer from rejection. We can't see another sister and say, hey, congratulations, keep going. You look well. I love what you're doing. We have to see it as a competition because rejection is so, it speaks so loud in our minds that our actions have to just, really fit the rejection bill. So I think mentorship is important for people, especially when you're talking about walking into purpose, because you can walk into purpose but still damaged.
Oh, yes, yes, that is true. That is true.
Right? And so that is why right now you have a lot of persons who say, I'm not going to church because they're hypocrites in church. The pastor throws words and all of that, but people throw word every day. People are hypocrites who are not even in church, but it's a mindset.
Yeah, it's a mindset.
And so you find the quickest thing to blame for your issues. 2016, the Lord had me go through a season. Listen, I couldn't relax my hair. I couldn't wear makeup. I couldn't wear an earring or a necklace. I had to be the real Stacey without everything to adorn myself. I depended on that so much to feel like a woman.
Wow.
But I went through a year, and when I was finished, I remember people kept looking at me and say, you look so pretty, And I remember one day I looked in the mirror and I said, hi, Stacey.
Hi.
My name is Resurrected Garvey.
Oh, my goodness. What an amazing story. Minister Garvey, thank you for sharing. As you said, there's a lot of people out here that are hiding behind so many things, these dark secrets. Do you feel a weight lifted off of you?
I think I got lighter in 2020. I mean, I'm a little chubby, but it's the filling out.
Stop with that. Stop.
But yeah, I felt lighter in 2020 because I was always afraid of ministry. I was afraid of preaching. I didn't like the mic. I've always said to persons, I don't think I'm called to run a church because people get trouble. And it's not every day the Spirit of God dwells in you to be holy. Praise Jesus.
Yes.
But I enjoy being myself. And enjoy being yourself makes you feel so much lighter. I love myself.
Yes.
And so there are days when I say, look, today is my time. I'm going to go into that bed.
Yeah.
I'm going to lie down. I'm going with my pillows.
We have a caller. So let's hear. Hi, caller. Welcome to Chasing Purpose.
Hi, how are you?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good.
Awesome. How can we help? Thanks for calling.
I just wanted to really, really encourage Stacey. I think she's such a blessing, and everything that she's dropping, it must bless somebody, and especially that part, everything that she went through, I think is pivotal. And that lady, you don't discount any circumstance that you go through in life, because going into prison and meeting that lady and that blessing being pronounced over her life and over her child is so amazing.
Yeah. Yes.
There are angels all around us. If only we're wise enough to see it.
Thank you so much for calling and sharing. We appreciate that. There are angels all around us. What do you think, Mr. Garvey?
Yeah, there are angels assigned to our lives.
Absolutely.
And we just need to give them instructions.
Oh my goodness, I'm completely filled with your story. Thank you for sharing. It is so important. I'm going to ask before you leave just to reach out to someone. There's someone right now that is listening to the show that is in a dark place and just needs some sort of just a word.
So I've always said this to persons: your pain is wealth. And why I said that. Why I said that, it's because your pain is your experience. Yeah. And the greatest wealth that you can have is experience. Because it took time to gain the experience. And the most valuable thing that you can have in life is time. And so don't waste your pain. Don't waste your scars. Don't waste being broken just to be a blessing. Don't waste it. Talk about it and show evidence of the fact that you're an overcomer.
Yes.
You're much stronger than you think you are.
Yes.
Some persons will say, I can't run. But if somebody tries to attack you, you need to run, you're going to run.
Yeah, you are. Yeah.
You know, so sometimes our darkness or the darkest place, you know, that we end up is what will really show us that there's a light somewhere just waiting for us to grab onto it. So today I want to encourage somebody. It doesn't matter what it looks like now. You know, there are times and seasons, and Ecclesiastes 3 talks about a time to mourn and a time to dance. You know, but you have a choice. You can choose to dwell in a happy place when everything in your life is going wire. You know, so the choice is really yours.
Yes.
You know, make the best choices for yourself and love yourself. Be happy with who you are, and don't forget that you're loved. Not by the persons who you think should love you, but by people who can really identify with you.
Thank you so much. As we talk about and wrap up our show here on Chasing Purpose, we really want to be intentional about stepping out on purpose. We want to be intentional about this journey of purpose. We only get this one chance. This is not a dress rehearsal. There's no do-overs here. This is the one chance that we all have. So we really have to be intentional about how we are going through our day, how we are going through life, how we can't be on this autopilot. We can't be on this, I'll take care of it tomorrow. That can't be the mindset at all. We have to be thinking about doing things positive, pouring into ourselves positively, no matter what. And it's not every day that we're going to wake up and feel like it's sunshine and butterflies outside. That's not going to be it at all. There are going to be days that we want to just kind of stay in the bed and not do anything. However, those are the days. Those are the days that we really, really, really have to be intentional about stepping out on purpose. Those are the days that we really have to dig deep and say, you know what, it's true. No, I can't let whatever this is overcome me. I have to move forward on our journey of purpose. So my trusty producer came up with some tips for us to do just that. Number one, and let me just say this, guys, if you're not a part of the Purpose Store community, you will always need a journal. You will always need a journal whenever Chasing Purpose is on, because a lot of gems are dropped. A lot of things that we can apply to our lives are dropped. So please, journals. It's a prerequisite to be a part of the Purpose or community here on Chasing Purpose. All right, number one, as we're stepping out on purpose and being intentional about that purpose, recommit to your goals. What goals have you set for yourself? And I want to talk about that a little bit more in a different show. Maybe not so much setting goals, but what is your growth plan? We all need to be growing in life. But right now, recommit to the goals that you set forth for yourself, whatever they are, whether it be losing 10 pounds, whether it be, taking a class, whether it be whatever your goals are in life. Recommit to that goal. It is, we're in September now, so we're looking towards the end of the year, and come January, everybody are gonna have all these, what do you call them, resolutions, all these new things that they want to do. I'm gonna depend on that. What is it that you have committed to for yourself, and how are you going to, the goals that you have set out for, how are you recommitting to that? Identify your triggers. This is a big one for me. Identify your triggers. The things and the situations that needle you, that take you down a road where you find your blood pressure raised and you start sweating, your belly cramp up. What are those things that are triggering you? Identify what those things are and work through them. Identify the habits you need to adopt to get to those set goals that we're recommitting to. What are the habits? So if it is the gym, I'm talking to myself here subliminally. If it is the gym, pack the bag the night before. Ensure to set the timer. Get into the car. Go to the gym, right? If it is that you're just going to be walking, get up and be intentional about it. Do what you need to do. Adopt the habits that you need in order to get to those goals. Build momentum. As you recommit to those goals, build momentum. Stay at it. Continually do it. Pour into you. Get yourself an accountability partner. Lord knows we all need that person that's going to hold us. When we're talking foolishness, when we're just forgetting what our goals are, that person's going to say, no, Cynthia, get to it. No excuses, get to it. Get you an accountability partner, if not a tribe. Last but certainly not least, celebrate small victories throughout every part of your day. Identify the littlest things that have made you feel lighter, the littlest things that have made you feel happier, and celebrate those small things, right? Those small victories lead to bigger ones. That is us stepping out on purpose. And in closing, I just want to say thank you to our guest today, Minister Garvey. You're an absolute blessing. Continue to chase your purpose and share your story. There's so many people out there that really need it. To my amazing team, Dominique, my producer, JB, my tech operator, Romaine, my visual mixer. Guys, download The Bridge, Romaine, bad panda ting. Thank you to everybody here at The Bridge and Irie Jam Radio. I am wishing, and my entire Bridge Nation Irie Jam family, I am wishing you love, light, and of course, purpose.
Chasing purpose is a journey of self-love, self-development, healing, and spirituality.